Today on Strong Roots Farm, we're doing a garden layout update right after this.
I'm Jared McGinnis, live in Southern Ohio with my awesome wife Jenny. We have 4 sons, Colt, Gideon, Ruger, and Gatlin. This is a story of how we sold our new home in the suburbs, purchased an old, unserviceable farm, and began to transform it into a local food source for us and our local community. We're on a mission of faith, family, and healthy food. Please subscribe and come with us on this journey. We are Strong Roots Farm.
So a few months back, I posted a video. It was entitled Garden Layout. If you haven't seen it, subscribe and roll down and check it out. Basically, we're using a market garden style row system with 30-inch rows. This is J.M.Fortier and Curtis Stone and Elliott Coleman. So 30 inches on our rows itself, 15-inch walkways using lots of fabric. And I've tried some different techniques. I've got some different tests going on. So I'm going to show you all these tests today. I'm going to show you the fabric and what I like, what I don't like, and show you how some of our vegetables are growing, and go through some of these tests and see if you have anything different. So to start here, we got our corn. Obviously, this is much different than I've ever done before, or I've ever seen done before. In fact, I've had many seed salesmen and other farmers tell me this is not going to work. It's not feasible. You can't plant them this close. And I made the claim that corn is only in rows because the tractors need the rows for their tires to go through. So basically what we did is, I can crunch down here. In our 30-inch row, I did five ears, and then 4, and then 5, and then 4, all the way down through at 4-inch spacings. So every 4 inches lengthwise, I have a seed row, and I alternated those diagonally. So essentially what had happened here, in a 50-foot row at every 6 inches, I'm going to get 200 stalks if I planted in conventional farming methods with a 16-inch spacing. So I had one row of corn and another row of corn here. I'd only had 2 rows actually, and there would have been 100 stalks in every row, so 200 stalks total. This method right here, I have 1,400 stalks of corn. Now, concerns of mine, I had nitrogen uptake concerns, big time. So corn is going to suck tons of nitrogen, tons of nutrients out of the ground. We know that. So I double composted this row, I tilled it in deep, and then I composted again, and I also covered it with chicken manure. So I've never grown corn in fabric before. I've never even seen it grown in fabric before, but I've got it. You can see there are some weeds coming up through the holes around it, but for the most part, it's minute. If I would have just put rows up with no fabric, I'd have had to be in here with a rototiller and hoeing and all the stuff like I did in the years past. Right now, I'm calling the corn a success. I'm about 45, 48 inches on height. I've got some of the tallest corn that I've seen in our area. It's really dark green. I did get some curling leaves at the other end, but once we got a rain, it was fine. I don't have any drip irrigation or nothing on this corn. So I will water it from time to time as it gets taller because it'll need so much of that. But so far, the corn is a success. Now, aisleways. So from my corn, I went right to tomatoes. And you can see here in the aisleway, I'm getting a little bit of grass up through this aisleway right here. And I used this cheap fabric from Lowe's. Okay, so it didn't quite go underneath the fabric enough that the corn was in. But it's doing fine on the side of the tomatoes. So in the aisleways, I'm fine. Now tomatoes, if you haven't seen my tomato video, there's one on trellising tomatoes, and I've pruned my tomatoes. I also have some split peas, some carrots, some peppers, and some okra in this same row. Cucumbers down at the end. So I tried to mix crops up to kind of have a polyculture in this row to kind of confuse the bugs a little bit. So I haven't had any problems with bugs. I haven't had any problems with my tomatoes yet. The drip irrigation's underneath here, so my leaves are not getting wet on my tomatoes, so I'm not seeing blight or anything like that yet. That's the tomatoes. Next row I have beans. So I went 12 inches, 10 inches I think on my spacings, but I did 2 rows in a 30-inch row. Got one drip irrigation line down the center, that's it. Now I had to hand make my drip irrigation because I don't have water pressure out here. I'm using a gravity feed tank. So I took a poly line, drilled holes with a drill bit through it, so water sprays out to the left and to the right when it goes down, and it goes out very fast. When the water starts to roll in my aisles, I shut the water off. So my beans are doing very well though. I had the Continental here, Continental bush, and a Kentucky bush down there. The Kentucky bush, I got much better stands on it than I did the Continental. but the Continental is starting to catch up, and the Kentucky kind of looks like it's more of a pole bean than a bush bean. I'm getting lots of vines off of it. So, but I'm really happy with the beans, the way they're going. And then I went into some direct seed stuff. I wanted to do a couple rows without fabric. So I have some lettuce mix here, then some more tomatoes, and I'm gonna stake these a little different just for a test. And then my squash down at the other end. Let's go see that. So on this half of the row towards us is the black beauties, and then down at that end is our golden zucchini. So if you look in here, I've got some zucchinis. Now this is where Curtis Stone is picking them. He's picking them at this 5 to 6 inch length, 4 to 5 inch length. So he would be picking this week, and then you have squash blossoms if you like to deep fry those. I'm gonna let these grow a little longer. When they get to about 50 cent piece in diameter, that's when I like them best. So that's where I'm gonna take them. I hope they get to be 6-8 inches before I have to do that. And we're going through there. Now the golden zucchini, even though they were seeded at the same time, the golden zucchini isn't coming on as prevalent. So it's a few days in maturity behind. So it might be even 7 days behind in maturity compared to the zucchini. But it's doing very well. No fabric. I did use some wood chips a little bit. I have a little bit of weed pressure, but nothing. Obviously, it's not hurting the plants here. My next two aisles, what happened is I stale seed bedded this. If you don't understand stale seed bedding, go back to another video I had on that. If you've been watching though, you'll notice that these two beds at this end weren't stale seed bedded, and I got so frustrated with those two rows that I went ahead and stale seed bedded this like 2 weeks in. So this has been stale seed bedded for 4 weeks. It's now been seeded for a week. So this is a lettuce over here, and then I've got baby beets. This is a baby Wonder Tall Top. It's gonna be a beet salad mix in this aisle. So this is a test that I am doing with wood chips instead of fabric though. So this aisle has newspaper down with wood chips on it, and this aisle only has wood chips. Now there's lots of talk about wood chips tying up nitrogen and all that stuff. It's not actually on my plants, it's just in my aisleways. I don't have very many weeds. Every now and then you'll see a sporadic 1 or 2 here that I can go down and pull through, but I kind of like this. I like this better than fabric if it holds out throughout the crop. Also, as I step on it, I'm composting it, and at the end of the season I can rake it up on top of my rows, cover it with plastic to stale seed bed throughout the winter, and those chips will break down and I'll till those in come spring. Now, let's walk down here. So it's important to show success and failure. This is obviously a huge failure. Now this row over here was muslin mix. I did get one cut before the grass kind of took over, so I was happy with it. The salad was really good. I gave it to a few chefs, gave it to a few friends. I really like the mix. You really need to stale seed bed at least 5 or 6 weeks before you direct seed that. Over here I have radishes. So I've kind of let them go, and that's why you're seeing green here, and this isn't covered yet, is these radishes. So next week, maybe the end of this week, I'm going to crop out these radishes. I will cover both these rows with plastic. It will go all the way underneath there and all the way up against my tomatoes. I'll stale seed bed this for 5 or 6 weeks. All this grass will die. I'll come back and tilth it in, and we'll go with something new. So here's the last technique I'm trying. So here we have our lettuce. Actually on this end is Swiss chard, and I've been picking, and I've got some head lettuces that I've already used some, you can see. And then I've got head lettuces down here at this end, some bright head lettuce, and at the end I've got kale. Kale didn't do so hot. I'm not sure about that yet. I don't know if the water's not making it all the way down there or what. But anyways, we got some greens in this aisle here. Then I've got this new method that I haven't seen before, but I just kind of come up with it on my own and thought I'd try it. I really like this so far if it works. So what I'm doing is this is a 30-inch Sunbelt plastic. I will not buy that again. I will buy the 4 feet so that it rolls down in my aisles. But what I did was I bought this cheap fabric from Lowe's. It's also 36 inches. And what happens is, you can see down here, it's kind of got an aisleway. It runs right along this edge, and then it goes down in my aisle and up underneath my other plastic. And then on this side, I use the Sunbelt all the way down through. So instead of having holes, I kind of have this 3 or 4 inch trench that goes all the way down. And then what I did is I have some rough compost. So it's been turned 2 or 3 times, but it's not really ready, a lot of wood chips. So I just kind of put that on there and covered it up. So now I can use my drip irrigation underneath that compost, and if it rains, it'll kind of be like a compost tea going through. There's no holes in my plastic. I can easily pull it up. That compost, or rough compost as I have here, it will fall down in when I crop out, and it will be tilled right in for next year. So I'm happy with this method. I really like it. If I had to do it again, I will definitely do every other row this with a fabric with holes, and then I will overlay to a single crop row. So tomatoes and squash and all that will be in these single crop rows. I really like this method. To finish out the garden here, our original rows were 50-foot long. Okay, so I found out that I cannot do a 50-foot row of salad mix and sell that much that quickly at this point. So I built some 25-foot rows for salad mixes and some other things, so I got 13 more of these here. I'm stale seed bedding all this at this end. The first 3 I stale seed bedded for 2 weeks, but I've got some squash coming in, and so these 2 rows will have fabric. This row will butt up. This row will butt up into the next lettuce. We'll have a lettuce in this row here. So the fabric will come over this, but as long as I can use the rain and the weeds aren't coming in, I'm going to leave it like this. But once they start getting bigger, I'm going to have to put the fabric on so I don't damage them as we cover them with the fabric with this thing. So this is our market garden layout. This is how it goes, and this is what we're doing. So I hope this helps you. I hope you see the advantage of these 30-inch rows, the 15-inch walkways. I'm learning about this weed pressure. If you can put fabric down now, that's the best. So I'm going to wait maybe 4 or 5 more days. Once I see a few more weeds here, I'm putting the fabric down. I don't want to end up like I did over here with my muslin mix. So hope this helps you. Keep subscribing, keep following us, and we'll hopefully give you some good information you can use. Keep growing your own. Thanks a lot.